Hello, everyone. This is Maryann here from Revealing Light Tarot, Astrology, and Spirituality. Wherever you are in the world when you're watching, a huge shout out to you. Now, this is a little bit different today because I'm starting my first podcast. So hopefully you're able to listen to this through the various platforms that this podcast will be distributed to. And among those will be Apple, the major ones, Apple, Spotify. So why did I do this? Well, I guess for people who know me and new listeners, I want to just give you a little bit of my background. I started out at a very young age, I guess, as a writer. I wrote all through my childhood. Yes, all through my childhood. When I wasn't writing, I was reading, and then when I was at university, I decided to pursue a degree in journalism with a second major in writing, creative writing. So I studied print journalism, I studied television journalism, and I studied radio journalism during my degree. I later on chose to work in print journalism, and I I wrote for metropolitan papers, but I chose to spend, I guess, to start things off in regional New South Wales, because I'd been in Sydney for a few years before I went to university. Get those gap years that we tend to have when we just first leave school. And I wanted to go back to the country because I am a country girl, born and raised. I was born in the outback, and well, actually, I was born in Sydney, but my mother, I was raised at the beginning in the outback. My mother had complications and was sent to a Sydney hospital. So at 10 days old, I came back to my home in the outback, which was a farm or a property that had been in my dad's family for a while. And I came home at 10 days old on the mail plane. So I was delivered with the newspapers as well. So I like to think that might have been my early love for the printed word. But anyway, I did study radio at university, and it was a toss-up. Was I going to go into radio, or was I going to go into print? Because I really, really, I love to speak. But at that time, I was extremely shy. So I thought print might be a good way to hide. In a way, I could still write, but I didn't have to talk in front of cameras or microphones. So what am I doing? 30 years later, or whatever it's been, I'm a YouTube content creator. And now I've got a podcast. I might add, I'm still writing, and I'm rediscovering my love of writing as well. I finished off a manuscript about, it's actually a memoir about my journey through a health crisis, which was cancer, and through that and into rediscovering my clairvoyance, psychic, intuitive, mediumship type gifts, which I had long buried out of fear. So I look at all those things. I also look at health indicators in astrology charts in that manuscript, and I also take people on a journey through the major arcana of the tarot in relation to what tarot can tell us about health. So hopefully this will be finished its final edit soon. No pressure, and I'll be able to bring it to you so that anyone who has experienced a health crisis can actually get something from this. It's a little bit about your blueprint. And so when we have these health crises, more than one in any one life, we tend to ask, why me? Why me? Why did this have to happen to me? And I guess that's what drove, because what does a journalist do? What does a writer do? They ask why. That's the perennial question, why? And I guess I had to ask Spirit, God, Great Spirit, Lord Buddha, whatever, however you describe, I generally refer to it as Spirit. I had to ask Spirit why. And in order to get the answer to that question, I had to find, locate, examine, pull out, turn over many times, examine, as I said, my blueprint for this lifetime. Because that's the other thing I had to do. I had to study evolutionary astrology to answer that question. Why did this happen to me? Because when I had my health crisis, I did a complete 360. At that time, I was working, consulting for government, developing strategies for not-for-profit international organizations, strategies to reach people. And at that time, I had to give up that work because it entailed a lot of traveling. And my health, though, I mean, facing cancer, having radiation, having chemotherapy, and then add on top of that autoimmune issues, you really can't jet around the country to attend meetings with clients. I mean, you need to take a step back. So I did. So I was part-time consulting with the proviso I didn't travel. But all the while, there was this nagging voice in the back of my mind. Maybe you need to pick those tarot cards up again and do some further study in clairvoyance, mediumship. I've always been clairvoyant. I didn't really need to study that. But mediumship studies and working with the really good foundational astrologists to learn so that you can, I mean, I'm a Sagittarius. I like to learn along the way. While everybody's learning, I love it. So, people say, you're a good teacher. Well, I'm a teacher that sits in the classroom with my students. And so I delved into all of this from 2015 onwards, although I had been reading tarot and studying shamanism and various other energy-based esoteric sciences, if you like, over 30, well, as long as I can remember, from young adulthood. So, where there was an interest and a love, it existed for a reason. And during my cancer treatment and surgery and treatment, chemo and radiation, I received distinct signs from Spirit that my blueprint was calling. So why me? Why me? When we ask that, we are, I guess, those crisis points in our life encourage us to do that deep dive to answer that question, why? And we've got to work out, not from the ego, it has to come from the intuitive core of yourself. It's quite easy to say, I want to help others, but what does that really mean? Because we have to help ourselves in order to help others. And every bit of learning and work that I do and I have done in all my life shows me that you can only help people from a place of, you've got to put your ego aside. Okay, so that's kind of an introduction. You can find me on YouTube at Revealing Light, Astrology, Tarot, and Spirituality. I call myself a spiritualist. I was raised as a Catholic in the Catholic Church. And I have to say, you know, people will knock the Catholic Church, but I'm going to say this. Being raised as a Catholic and attending a Catholic all-girls school, being chosen to read various, what are they called? Psalms, Gospels, not Gospels, the priest does that, readings in the Mass. They always called upon me, and I thought, why are they doing this? I don't talk that well. But anyway, maybe I was underselling myself a little bit, because now I have a career where I do nothing else but talk. I used to play guitar in the Mass. But I'm going to say this about the Catholic Church and the Catholic community. As much as all as it can, let's face it, let's be realistic, can leave people with a few chips on their shoulders, it can also give a good foundation in spirituality. When I say spirituality, I'm talking about connection with God, spirit, however you want to describe it. So I'm the sum of my experiences. And this isn't even the topic I wanted to do today. I wanted to actually get on to what will the world look like in 50 years. So I better get a hurry up, because I don't want this to be too long. I know some of you will listen to it driving along, or, you know, before you go to sleep. Hopefully you won't sleep while I'm talking. But I have a set of tarot cards here, and, you know, different weeks we'll pull a card, you know, we'll do a reading, a tarot reading. Other weeks we'll talk about particular astrology, that might be patterns, aspects that might be occurring. Other weeks we'll talk about writing and literature and the great books and the great visionaries. We might talk about past leaders in the world and what they taught us. We might look back at ancient history. Who knows? But we'll always do some divination for those that follow me and do like that as well. So I'm going to go to that question before we clock off. What will I should say other weeks we'll just do straight clairvoyance and perhaps even a little bit of mediumship. But before we clock off today, let's have a look at where the world will be in 50 years. So I'm just going to open up clairvoyantly to this question, the world. Where will the world be? Okay, so I don't see the world ending within 50 years. I haven't gone beyond that. I see a straight road. We know it's not going to be a straight road, but I see a continuous road. Now, we are also confronted with huge, huge challenges. And I want to go back to the Edgar Cayce, who was called the Sleeping Prophet, an American healer, I guess you would call him, that lived in the 20th century. And he saw the world coming off its axis. That's how he described it. Of course, now we know the North and the South Pole are moving. Why are they moving? Because the icebergs, I'm just going to put it plainly, the icebergs are melting, great ice shelves are melting, and the weight, the axis is changing. So, like it or not, we have to confront man-made climate change, because man-made climate change is leading to the Earth changing its patterns. But I don't see Armageddon. I don't see doomsday. So all those doomsday preppers, you might be a bit disappointed, because within 50 years, that isn't going to happen. But let's see what can come forward. You'll hear the shuffling of the cards. I hope that's okay. Where will we be in 50 years? What's going to happen to us along the way? Show me the Earth, society, the world in 50 years. Yeah. So we lose sight of the leaders around the world meeting, talking. Nobody wants this earth to stop giving up its bounties, giving up our way of life, giving up our existence. So many clever heads are being put together. But the first card out is the Seven of Cups. Any of you who know the tarot will know this is the card of choices. And right now, we're not able to make that choice, but we will, because the next card I've got is the Two of Wands. That's talking about being patient, something coming to fruition in time. So there's an urgency about this. We need to make the right choices. And it's as simple as that. And I think we all know that. There's a great deal of anxiety, one way or another, in the world at the moment, whether it's coming from us in the West or in other countries. And, you know, countries, well, maybe in Russia they don't choose their leader. Maybe in China they don't choose their leader. But in democratic countries they do, if the polls aren't rigged. And we choose leaders who are going to act upon our anxieties. And we are an anxious world. In the past, we've got the Ace of Pentacles, and I'm looking forward to doing a Pluto from Capricorn into Aquarius, because the Ace of Pentacles in the past talks about the opportunities we were given in the past, the new starts we were given in the past. But that Ace of Pentacles is in the past. And you know what's in the sky? The High Priestess, our intuition, our subconscious, our inner knowledge. We know what is wrong and we know what we have to do. We've got the Eight of Wands in the immediate future. These earth changes are going to continue to come at lightning speed. And every time they do, whether it's me sitting here in my reading room or we're in Australia, I'm an Australian, by the way, or whether it's you in the US, in Tennessee, Massachusetts, New York, California, Oregon, wherever you are, the UK, London, Sussex, wherever, Devon, Europe, France, Germany, you in Russia, if you're listening to this, hello to you. Hello to you. You in China, if you're listening to this, hello to you. And in Asia, hello to you. And in Africa, hello to you. We know what's wrong. We know what we have to do. Now, I have the King of Cups. We're coming, kicking and screaming into maturity. And the environment around us, well, some of us are lagging behind a bit. This is a bit of a high wire act that we're doing right now with our need to ensure that the earth remains healthy, that we remain stable. We know there's decisions to make. And the leaders with maturity, they're making those right decisions. The other leaders that are still lagging, well, they're gonna find out that they have to. The hopes and fears, the human race is strong. I get the Strength card. The human race is strong. We should never forget that. The outcome cards is the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles is independence, having everything we need. But it's clarified by the Death card, meaning unless we make those right decisions, the lifestyles that we have at the moment will come to an end. And the past, the decisions of the past are catching up to us. Now, at the base of the pack, we have the Three of Pentacles. That's working together worldwide across the world. Remember, the hope is our strength. We have the Justice card, the balancing of the scales, and the Knight of Pentacles, steadiness, steadfastness, and the Hope card, the Star of Hope, sitting alongside the Six of Swords, moving out of troubled waters. So yes, there will be relocations as the earth changes. But there is still hope that we will make the right decisions. So that brings us to the end of this podcast today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you're sitting here with a cuppa, or whatever your drink of choice is. I'm not advocating alcoholism, but if you chill with a my drink, which I have very rarely, but when I do, is a vodka, a nip of vodka with some lemon and some ice and a little bit of nice water, purified water. I really enjoy that. But equally, I enjoy an English breakfast cup of tea. Whatever you are doing when you're listening to this, I just want to shout out to you, my listeners. I've been blessed with a wonderful following on YouTube and on my other platforms, Patreon. Shout out to my patrons. Hello to you. Your loyalty, and YouTube, your loyalty blows me away. But I have wanted to have the freedom to explore many things. We'll always do some divination. You'll always get that in this podcast. But hey, let's take a walk back through history, to the future, into the present, while we make sense of the chaos sometimes, but also drill very deeply for the gold. When I say the gold, the inspiration, the courage, and also the beauty. Also the beauty. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you again for being here with me. And I'll do this. I yet to work out a schedule, probably fortnightly. But anyway, you'll hear from me soon. Bye for now.